Hello, this is Michel Leviathan Sorbet and you are watching a new episode of Wojennik TV. I would like to show you today a game that I have already reviewed on my YouTube channel. That was a cooperative game, a game in which we were supposed to play a series of scenarios comprising a campaign. But at that moment I told you already that I would like to prepare a new video because this game is meant to be played in two ways. The first one, which I have already reviewed, the second one is played in a skirmish mode. There is a skirmish mode, a battle mode, while using some of the components enclosed in the box of the game. This game is a game published thanks to a successful Kickstarter campaign, and it is Dawn of Peacemakers. If you are interested in knowing how this game looks, how this game works in the main campaign mode, you can take a look at my previous video. If you are looking for information about the skirmish mode, you just should keep watching, because I would like to show you how this game works in the skirmish mode, what components do we use, because there will be some differences when it comes to the skirmish mode compared to the traditional campaign mode. And then I will show you also how this game works, and finally what are my final thoughts about this mode. The game was published by Snowdale Design and its author is Sami Lasko. The game is meant to be played from 1 to 4 players, but when it comes to the skirmish mode we will need 2 or 3 players. It depends on the scenario. There are some ready scenarios enclosed in the skirmish booklet, and those scenarios are for 2 or 3 players. It's rather a game which will not be possible to be played solitaire in the skirmish mode, but it is always possible to create scenarios where there will be such a possibility thanks to the artificial intelligence enclosed in the design of Dawn of Peacemakers, because while playing the campaign we have some artificial intelligence, so I think it would be possible to create also solitaire scenarios. So how this game looks, how this game works, let's take a look. Here is the board of Dawn of Peacemakers during a battle played in the skirmish mode. As you can see, we are using almost the same components as we do while playing the campaign. The differences are as follows. The first one is that we will be needing both frontline markers, both frontline signs, because while playing we will be preparing our orders, and once we choose our cards, our orders, we will also choose the front line, so the direction in which our troops will be moving. So as you can see, we have a symbol indicating the same direction as the direction indicated in on the map. During each and every sequence of play will be choosing the direction in which your troops will be moving in accordance to this direction. Then you will be placing this frontline marker face down so that your opponent cannot see, and then while executing your order you will be showing the direction of your order. So that's the first difference, because we will be using 2 of those, because each time we will have 2 pairs of orders, but I will tell about this in a little moment. The second difference is that we will be using the units which normally represent both opposing armies. We will not be using our adventurers miniatures. We will be using the miniatures of one of the armies in 2 different ways. The first one is to play a skirmish battle playing with the pieces proposed in the scenario, because we receive some scenarios in the skirmish booklet. But the second option is to draft your own units, to craft your own army, and that's the most fun part in the skirmish mode, because while preparing to a battle we can decide to play a draft. Each time we will be choosing some elements, paying for those elements with points. Before beginning the scenario we will choose the number of points used by both players in order to prepare their armies. Using those points can be spent on acquiring a ploy deck, which is free, as you can see. We can also acquire fortification tokens. A pair of 3 fortification tokens costs us 1 draft point. We can pass, which of course ends our preparation for the battle, and we can also acquire 1 new unit. The cost of this unit is printed on the unit card, because as you might have seen during gameplay, each unit has, apart from its characteristic, also a skirmish price, which indicates how much such a unit costs while assembling your army. Both players will buy units and the ploy deck or the fortification tokens, so they will be able to create their own armies, to craft their own armies. Of course, while doing so, they will also, both players, choose how to assign those units, those soldiers, to different units. And during this sequence of attributing those characters to different units, we will be choosing their insignias. So we can construct a unit composed of 2 units, of 3 units, of 4 units, and also we can have different units, for instance an archers unit or a mixed unit with archers or infantry. The second way to play the skirmish mode is, as I said earlier, to play just with a pre-constructed army indicated each time in the scenario. For instance, in the first one, Flames of Revenge, we have a simple information that the first army is composed of a commander and of 3 Mako soldiers. The second army will be composed of 2 Ocelot archers and of 1 Ocelot warrior. So if we want to skip the draft, if we want to just play a battle quickly without drafting, we can assemble this army, or rather take this prepared army and start playing. So those are the major differences. The third difference while playing the campaign is that we will be using the decks of our both armies prepared in such a way that we will include only cards with the skirmish mode inside. So cards will be left apart, will be taken out from the decks, both from the ploy and from the orders and from the tasks deck, in order to create a skirmish deck. In this deck we will have in 2 different decks, because we'll have a ploy and a task decks. In those decks we will include only the cards which correspond to the insignias of our units present on the battlefield. A special type of card which we will acquire from the beginning of the game is a card called Organizing, and this card is a special one because we start the game with it. It's the sole and only possibility to recreate our deck when we run out of cards, because we will, while creating those 2 decks, create a deck of ploy and a deck of task cards. Then, during gameplay, we will be drawing cards and executing orders. But the fun fact is that while executing those orders, we will be discarding them. Discarding orders will mean that they won't be available to use until redrawn from the deck. But to recreate our own deck, we will have to play this organizing card. The issue is that while doing so, we will also lower our motivation, because in the majority of the cases, unless we decide otherwise, the objective of the game will be to reduce the motivation level of our adversary to 0. So playing the organizing card means we will be reducing our own army's motivation, but we do have to do it sooner or later in order to retrieve cards. Now, after creating our own army, after creating the board, so setting the tiles, or the tiles that we decide to put on the battlefield, or those indicated in the scenario if we decide to play a scenario. We prepare our decks and then we start playing. At first we have only the organizing card in our hand, but each turn we will replenish our hand, drawing cards from the 2 stacks in order to have 8 cards in our hand. We have to have at least 1 card from each deck. So for instance, if I have 6 ploy cards in my hand, I have to start drawing cards from the task deck in order to have at least 1 in my hand. If I do, I can choose to replenish to fill my hand with cards from either deck. So I can have, for instance, 5 ploy cards and 3 task cards. After replenishing my hand up to 8, I have to prepare an order. So I choose a combination of the cards that I have, and I put my cards in such a way that they create an order. For instance, a move order, which will be put face down, of course, near my decks, alongside with a ploy card. Both cards will be prepared for my next turn. Then I will also prepare my frontline marker in order to indicate where my units will be moving if I were to choose the movement order, placing this order somewhere alongside this pair of cards. Those cards won't be executed during the same turn that I put them near the map board. They will be executed only on the next turn. So on the first turn I will only prepare my pair of orders and then end my turn. On the second turn I will replenish my hand, I will prepare a new pair of cards in order to create a new order for next turn, and then I will execute the order from the previous turn. So first of all, I will show the front line to my opponent in order to show him where I would be moving if my order is a movement order, and then I will play the order. Both players uncover their orders at the same time. We choose the order in which they are executed, just like in the campaign. So first of all, fast orders, then normal and slow orders, move, cover and strike at the end. Cover is also fortify, because we receive fortify orders which are executed exactly at the same time as cover orders. The thing is that in your decks you will receive only a limited number of certain orders. For instance, you will receive only 1 strike order per insignia. This means that if you want to execute more strike orders, you have to use ploy cards which allow you to do so, or play the organizing card in order to retrieve your discarded cards and create a new deck from which you will replenish your hand during your next turn. We play in such a way until the victory conditions of the scenario are met. Most often this will be if we reduce the motivation level of the opposing army to 0, but we can also create different scenarios where, for instance, the objective will be killing the opponent's commander or taking a strategical point on the board. It's just up to the players to create their own victory conditions. Those are almost all the rules governing skirmish play. If you have played the campaign, you will without any problem also play the skirmish mode, which resembles a little bit to some skirmish games, to some battle games, to some miniature games, but with some notable exceptions. For instance, we still do not have any advanced rules governing line of sight, we do not have any rules governing zones of control, etc. the same rules that are present in the campaign mode are also present in the skirmish mode. Even the rule saying where our unit will attack. We cannot choose the target of our attack. This unit will attack just like it does in the campaign mode. So the attack will take place in accordance to the attack prioritizing indicated in the campaign rules. Now that's it when it comes to the rules governing the skirmish mode. Now I would like to tell you what I think about this mode and if I believe that this enables additional depth, or is it sufficiently interesting to play those games, or you should stick to the campaign mode. While reviewing the basic game of Dawn of Peacemakers, because I believe the campaign mode is the basic game, I have already told you that I really like this game. It is a very interesting original design, and the fact that we receive also a second mode, the skirmish mode, is a thing that really increases the replayability and the value of this title, because what is worth mentioning is that some people said, and some people are still saying, that Dawn of Peacemakers is a game meant to be played only once through the entire campaign, and then we can get rid of it because we won't be having any fun while playing it again. And I would like to disagree with this statement. First of all, as I already underlined in my previous review of the campaign mode of Dawn of Peacemakers, it is still possible to jump into a scenario within the campaign in order to replay it, in order also to play it with some subtle differences compared to the first or second play of this scenario, because you can and should sometimes increase replayability by changing some details in those scenarios. It's absolutely possible, and it's fun to be played once more. Of course, the thing that you lose in the campaign mode is the fact that you won't be discovering new mechanisms, new components, but the fact that the game works really fine and it is really enjoyable to be played means that Dawn of Peacemakers is not a one-way shot. It's not a one-time shot. But the skirmish mode is another thing that attracts players and another thing that augments the value of this title, because you receive something like a new game enclosed in the same box. As you have seen, we are using most of the components used in the basic campaign mode, maybe apart the resource cards. Every other component, or almost every other component, will be used. And while playing the skirmish mode, you do not have to learn, or you do not have to lose a lot of time while reading additional rules, because some mechanisms work exactly the same way as in the campaign mode. This means that while having played the campaign, it is very, very easy to jump into some skirmish scenarios. What I like about this mode, because I like this mode and I think it is very interesting, it is something worth playing. But what I think are its strong points. First of all, what I really like in the skirmish mode is the draft mechanism, because you can play this mode in two different ways. You can play ready scenarios which are enclosed in the skirmish mode, and then you can also play the draft. The draft is really fun. It's a great thing. I love drafting, I love card drafting, I love creating my own decks, armies, and it's great that in Dawn of Peacemakers we also have such a possibility, because each and every player will have the opportunity to create his own army and to decide how to construct it. So later, while playing, he cannot blame the forces that he has on the battlefield, because he is the one who has chosen them in the first place. So this is great. I love the draft idea. I think it is well done. I think it is very easy and it is also very fast. It's just very fun. The second thing is something that I have already told a few minutes ago. The fact that we receive a second mode augments a lot the replayability of Dawn of Peacemakers. And I think that while buying this game, not many people were certain what they will receive, and many could have this feeling that while after finishing the campaign, all the mystery, all the fun will be gone. Thanks to the skirmish mode, it's absolutely not the case, because each battle will be played differently. Even if you play through the scenarios which are enclosed in the skirmish mode, you still have the draft. You still have the possibility to craft your own scenarios. You can create scenarios with very different victory conditions, with very different board settings, so the replayability is just enormous. That's also a big factor which convinced me that this game is very good. The third fact is that it is very fast to play, because the battles are really quick. You can set the game rapidly. If you do not want to draft the forces, you can just prepare a predefined scenario proposed in the skirmish booklet, and then you can start playing. The game flow is fast, it is intense, the battles are bloody, the battles also are sometimes very tactical, because it is not only playing all the time the same attack order. What I really like is that you really have to plan ahead, you really have to decide when to play certain cards. Sometimes you will want to get rid of cards in order to acquire those precious strike orders. On other moments, you will just try to survive. You will try to play it slow in order to gain some time, and in order to reduce the motivation of your opponent's army, forcing him to play his own organizing card. So you will be opposing your opponent. You will play your opponent not only on the board, but also with the cards that you will be having in your decks and in your hand. That's really clever. What I really like is also that this hand management is absolutely crucial in Dawn of Peacemakers. Now, we have many skirmish games, battle games, where you construct your army, then you make some maneuver, and then you just roll a lot of dice trying to kill the enemies which are within range. In Dawn of Peacemakers, in the skirmish mode, it won't be the case. You will have to maneuver, you will have to attack, but also you will have to very carefully use the cards that you have in your hand. I like it a lot because it is something pretty different when compared to other skirmish games. There are also some things that I think could have been done better in this mode. First of all, I think it is really sad that again there is no possibility to play the characters which we had in the campaign mode. I have already said this in my previous review, that I believe that each of those characters should have received a special ability. It would be much more pleasant to play, it would be much more easy to create unique stories while playing. We do not receive such capabilities, and we do not receive also capabilities in the skirmish mode. What is more, we do not receive any rules governing those characters, so they are just left apart. I think they should have been enclosed in this mode. You should have the possibility to draft them, you should have the possibility to place them in the head of your army. That would be something great. That would be also something which would differentiate those armies and would create additional depth. It would also enable you to have different strategies, and it would augment replayability once more. Some people might find the skirmish mode too easy and too abstract, because again you will not be attacking the units that you want to attack. You will have to prioritize your attacks again the same way that those attacks work in the campaign mode. There is still no rules governing line of sight, zones of control, etc. It's very easy, it is very basic. So I wouldn't expect wargamers or people used to miniature games to fully enjoy this mode. But if you are looking for something light, for something easy to play and quick to play, something with great miniatures, with great components, this mode can be an excellent choice, especially if you like the campaign game, if you like the setting. And I would fully recommend to try this mode after finishing the whole campaign, because at that moment you will unlock all the components which then could be used during the skirmish games. That's it when it comes to the skirmish mode of Dawn of Peacemakers from Snowdale Design. Thank you very much for watching this video. Have a nice day today. I invite you also to look at our other reviews, at our top 10s, at our unboxings. Have a nice day and see you again once more.